An assault team of soldiers in 2003 at the end of Iraq War are briefed to raid an underground burial site used as storage for chemical weapons. As they go deep underground, they witness in shock hidden horrifying secrets that have been buried for centuries. Something that no briefing could ever prepare them for. Something they would only see in their worst nightmares. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator. You can follow me on Twitter where you can communicate with me and send me game requests. This video will contain spoilers about the game. With that in mind, let's begin. The year is 2231 BC in Akkad, the northern side of Babylonia, with Akkadian Empire in midst of war with Gutian dynasty. The deranged emperor Naram-Sin orders the general of the army, Valathu, to execute all of the prisoners in order to appease the gods in hopes of achieving salvation. Meanwhile, a Gutian prisoner called Korom escapes his cell and departs to the emperor's chamber. He witnesses in shock that all of the emperor's guards are brutally murdered, including the emperor himself. Simultaneously, after fighting a losing battle with the Gutian army, the Akkadian general, Valathu, runs to the emperor's chamber, running away from unseen vicious forces, which seem to have been unearthed after a solar eclipse. Valathu and Korom form a coalition to escape these unseen forces who Valathu presumes to be their vengeful gods, running down to the catacombs. In the catacombs, Valathu explains that Akkad became cursed after the emperor raided a temple and built a new one for forgiveness, killing so many innocents for sacrifice, which were all in vain.
We are cursed by our own actions.
Why did your king raid the temple?
Same story that history has taught us. For gold, for glory.
For greed.
Valathu and Korom stand together and fight off one of the many demonic entities, but as more infiltrate the catacombs, they succumb to their ferocious brutality. The timeline skips to 2003 in modern Iraq, after the end of Iraq War. Eric King, the lieutenant colonel, accompanied by his assistant Dr. Clarice Stokes, meet the first lieutenant Jason Kolchak in order to conduct a briefing. Meanwhile, Rachel King, the CIA field officer, is having a little romantic scene with Nick Kay, the sergeant of Force Recon. Rachel is the current wife of Eric, who have been seemingly apart for over a year, who's been meaning to tell Eric about her new romantic partner, Nick. Eric, in an awkward encounter with Rachel, informs her that he's been instructed to assume command of her team and raid an underground facility in Zagros Mountains, which Saddam Hussein presumably used as a storage for chemical weapons. After the briefing is dismissed, Eric confesses how sorry he is that he's been away and expresses his remaining affection for Rachel, still holding on to their wedding ring, asking Rachel to wear her ring is, which causes Rachel to find it difficult to come clean about her affair, as she never spoke to him about having cold feet and swayed feelings. They suddenly become interrupted by other soldiers and put their professional masks on. Sometime later, a local Iraqi officer called Salim Osman goes home to give his son Zain a present. Zain has been accepted to study in Highgate University in London, a course in mythology, which is shown to be a topic of interest for Zain after finding a book about Mesopotamian mythology. Salim soon becomes furious as he observes his son has been stealing again with the neighbor boy Tariq, as he speaks with the neighbor to find out where Zain is.
سليم جاركم أبو زين.
طبعا رجعت؟
أيوة رجعت. هو زين هو زين مع ابنك؟
طارق
أيوة طارق، هما مع بعض.
راحوا ياخدوا الأتوبيس بقالهم ساعة. كلهم خير؟
لا كله مش كويس. لقيت الحاجات اللي سرقها وخباها طارق وزين.
يا رب مش ده كمان، قلت له 100 مرة.
زين قال لي إنه بطل الحاجات دي ووعدني.
ننده البوليس.
إيه؟ لا مش عايزين الصيع دول معانا. انا هتعامل معاه في معرفتي. انت بس قولي لي هم فين.
انا مش عارفه.
اول ما يدخلوا من الباب تقولي لزين ابوك عارف انت عملت ايه. قولي له ابوك غضبان منك.
All of a sudden, he gets approached by his commander to fight once more against foreign invaders, even though the war is at its end, to which Salim shows reluctance, but he's left with no other choice, as it's an order.
خلاص يا دار، دي آخر مهمة.
After reaching the site for the chemical weapons, as briefed earlier, the American soldiers give some prisoners a tough treatment to extract information. None speaks until Rachel finds a storage unit for heroin, when they presume that these are just some crooks who stole some drugs, and Eric was wrong all along about the storage for chemical weapons. All of a sudden, the American troops get ambushed by Salim's commander's troops. Under heavy fire, Jason gets the choice to use white phosphorus, despite Eric's disapproval earlier. A banned chemical weapon classified as war crime. The very same reason they raided the site, to extract chemical weapons, which cause long-term irreversible injuries and excruciating pain till death.
White phosphorus?
It's just for popping smoke, that's all.
These are only to be used for cover. Understood?
Burn them out!
Jason encounters an unarmed civilian whom they took as prisoners and beat up for interrogation purposes, who runs away in fear, when Jason gets to shoot him in the back or let him go. That's when Salim gets a clear shot of Jason, but chooses to form a coalition and stop the massacre, as he intended to have a new start, with his son having a promising future ahead of him, being accepted in a well-known university in London. That's when a sudden earthquake creates sinkholes and the survivors fall into the ancient Akkadian temple. Nick calls out to his troops and explores the ancient temple, where he encounters mysterious monstrous entities. After finding Jason, they learn that this is not an actual storage for weapons, and they were wrong, but decide to leave as soon as possible as they have hostile Iraqi soldiers on their tail. Nick and Jason, unaware of this priceless historic finding, display a lack of understanding to what they're witnessing, and subsequently find Clarice and a severely injured Merwin.
You ever seen anything like this? What the hell is this place?
Bash, I flunked history at school.
That's Merle.
As they start helping Merwin, Clarice gets snatched by an unseen force and disappears. Soon later, Merwin bleeds to death and his corpse gets taken by one of the unseen entities as well. Sometime later, Salim regains his consciousness and gets up and sets out to find an exit. He talks under his breath that all he wanted to do today was just to relax, take a much-needed bath, and celebrate his son's birthday, rather than fighting Americans, being ordered by his stubborn and unempathetic captain.
كان عندي مشاريع النهارده، استحمى، اسمع موسيقى، احتفل عيد ميلاد ابني، بس لا دق على باب انا، لا لما كان جايين بص احنا فين دلوقتي؟ والله ما انا عارف انا فين.
As Salim explores deeper in the ancient ruins, he witnesses in horror one of the vicious creatures. He runs with all his might when he gets rescued by a large item dropping on the creature. Subsequently, Rachel and Eric are united, who set off to look for Jason and Nick. Rachel, unlike Jason and Nick, shows a great knowledge of history, explaining this is an ancient temple, which is probably from Sumerian timeline, after observing some written inscription. She further explains about a Sumerian demon called Pazuzu, who brings plagues after discovering an ancient religious idol.
It's Pazuzu.
Pazu who?
Pazuzu. Do you not watch horror movies?
You should know the answer to that.
It's a Sumerian demon. Something to do with plagues, I think.
Plagues and demons, huh? Great.
They observe World War II era archaeological equipment lying around, with some written notes and journals explaining about the Akkadian emperor, Naram Sin. He was a pious man, but after not receiving any blessing from God enduring a 7-year-long famine, in anger, he decides to raid and sack Enlil's temple, a god they believed in, which he later believes in return seeks vengeance and sends the army of Gutians to eradicate them. Naram Sin, for forgiveness, builds this massive temple to repent for his sins, but this doesn't work as they lose the battle. As Rachel and Eric get to fix the generator to power up the lights, Eric explains how he still loves Rachel, but Rachel explains that things are over between them, since when the truck hit their car in a highway, leading to Eric lose one of his legs, replacing it with a prosthetic. After the generator powers up, an audio log recorded by the head of archaeology then suddenly plays, informing Rachel and Eric that they sealed this place after discovering the ancient hostile entities. As they get on guard, Salim's commander, Dar, climbs down and opens fire at them. As Rachel and Eric run, Rachel stumbles and slides down a cliff. Regardless to Eric's efforts and Nick joining in, she falls down and becomes presumed dead. Jason soon joins them and they resume on their way to find an exit. The lights suddenly turn off, which makes them to go and check on the generator. They observe that the generator has been sabotaged and fix it soon after. They then hear Joey's voice coming from a deep dark cavern, whom Nick witnessed to die a while back. As they travel through the tight tunnels to rescue him, they get attacked by the Iraqi captain, who throws a grenade and separates them.
Grenade!
As Nick gets on his way, he gets stopped by Salim, who informs him that these demonic creatures burn in sunlight and react to sound just like bats. He further explains bullets only slow them down, with a secondary way to kill them being a stick through their heart. Just like Kurum and Balathu, Nick and Salim form a coalition and work together to survive. They flank the creature, with Nick distracting it with his bullets, while Salim delivers a lethal hit to its heart. Salim and Nick get to know each other, with Salim telling him about his son and how he doesn't want to be involved in the war anymore. Nick protects Salim when Jason arrives, telling him to hide. After Jason and Nick secure more parameters, they head back to Eric. Deep down in the caverns, an unharmed Rachel wakes up drenched in blood in a pool of blood, presumably from the numerous victims of these unknown creatures. Rachel then encounters a miraculously unharmed Clarice, who helps her run away from a creature chasing after her. Skipping to Eric, as he's studying the corpse of one of the creatures, when he exposes it to UV light, the corpse catches on fire, displaying that these creatures behave similarly to the mythical vampires, who burn when exposed to sunlight or UV, hence why they have been contained beneath for thousands of years. As Jason and Nick are heading back, they get intercepted by an infected Joey, who's transformed into one of these vampire-like creatures. Eric comes to the rescue and shines it with his portable UV light, which sets him on fire, destroying him. Skipping back to Rachel and Clarice, Clarice shows signs of being injured. She soon starts coughing and starting to transform into one of those creatures. Regardless, Rachel helps her and both climb up higher. As Clarissa's health starts deteriorating further, she stays behind to keep Rachel safe in an act of selflessness.
You okay?
That answer your question?
We need to get you to the temple.
Skipping to the men above, they get attacked by the Iraqi captain Dar, who doesn't listen to Salim about forming a coalition with the Americans in order to escape and survive the monsters. As the Americans retreat to the temple, Rachel joins them and they close the doors. As Rachel and Nick hug passionately, Eric finds out about their affair. This acts as a hard pill to swallow, and after exchanging a couple of punches, Eric and Nick peace it out for now until they are safe. A horde of these creatures then break in, whom the troop holds back and escapes. The troop then gets into a Mexican standoff with Dar and Salim, who form a coalition after a quick altercation. In a battle with the creatures, Salim saves Rachel, and a preserved, transformed corpse of Balothu slowly approaches Nick, who in fear exposes him to a crucifix, which does not work. After a challenging fight, Dar ends up dying and the troop scatters. Salim and Jason then team up and explore further. Jason shows his disrespect towards the enemy and considers Dar's death as a positive, despite Salim informing him that he had a family.
Is that your wife?
It's funny how you can know someone for years and never really know them. I had no idea my captain was married.
Is that the asshole you were with earlier?
He didn't make it.
Works for me. One less bad guy to deal with.
A time will come when you'll deeply regret this manner.
I don't carry regrets.
They soon reach an alien underground den, which seems to be a breeding ground for the vampires. Meanwhile, Rachel is confronted by Nick and Eric to choose between them. After a difficult confession that Rachel has moved on and is now with Nick, Jason and Salim explore deeper in the breeding grounds. They finally reach a point deep underground, which reveals these creatures have extraterrestrial origins, with alien-like structures and equipment. Standing speechless against this surreal spectacle, Jason finally opens up to why he joined the Marines. He explains his life was going nowhere, and joining the Marines was a way for him to have a purpose. He further explains how he shot an innocent woman in cold blood, thinking she might have been a threat.
We are being judged. God is punishing us all for the mistakes we've ever made. Zane is all I have left in this world. After my wife left us, I gave him my all. I wanted him to have everything I didn't.
Single parent. Tough gig.
It is. But my boy has made me very proud. He's going to London, to university. If only he would stop stealing.
This morning, I found the goods Zane had stolen. I left a message with my neighbor to tell Zane how angry I was with him. I said the last thing he will hear from his father. I miss him so much.
Is your conscience clear, Jason?
Green zone. Checkpoint.
What checkpoint?
Nick and I, we were caught in traffic. Checkpoint had been hit before by suicide bombers. There was a woman. She was carrying a bag. Fuck.
Tell me.
I ordered for her to stop, loud and clear, but she didn't. She just kept on walking. I had to make a call. Nick, he shot her dead.
What was in the bag?
Groceries.
I don't understand. Why didn't she stop?
She didn't hear me. She had headphones on. Huh. This shit. I'm not here to honor the dead. Truth is, my life was going nowhere fast. I jumped at the chance to sign up.
We all have our reasons. They don't have to be profound.
Profound, huh? When those towers were hit, I was stoned out of my fucking skull. I didn't even hear about it till a week later. How's that for profound? I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing here.
You're serving your country.
That woman had a family, friends. She had her whole life in front of her, and we snuffed it out with a single bullet. I mean, what the f?
This strengthens Salim and Jason's bond, who decide to go on their own and put an end to this nightmare. They soon reach a cocoon-like structure, which they presume to be the mother lode. Eric, Nick, and Rachel soon join them, and they push further. There, they find archaeological tools left behind, displaying that archaeologists post-World War II reached up to this point. They interact with a console that in a way communicates with these creatures. It seems as if their method of communication was in musical sound forms. Rachel slowly shows signs of being infected after the injury she sustained in the battle with the vampire creatures. Playing a tune from the console, Rachel sees a vision of how these creatures came to Earth, whose spaceship sustained damage and crashed in Earth. They were once an intelligent extraterrestrial life form before succumbing under a mysterious infection, making them become what they are now. They then expose Rachel to UV light, who pukes out a parasitic creature, which leads to her symptoms vanishing.
What?
This parasite proves that the aliens were peaceful, or at least not as instinctively vicious, until they became infected with these parasites. As they close down to the main collection of cocoons, Nick makes a tough decision and risks his own life to plant explosives in the cocoons. Jason detonates them from above, presuming Nick died in the process. As they lose hope and leave, they get a weak transmission from Nick, informing them that he's still alive but badly injured. The infected corpse of Belothu then comes in all of a sudden, strangling Nick. But soon, Salim rushes in and impales him from behind, saving Nick's life. As they start running, heading for the exit, Salim gets separated from the troop and becomes surrounded by these creatures. As Eric orders the troop to clear the cavern, Jason persists that Salim is one of them and that Marines don't leave each other behind.
You're wrong. Salim is one of us now. Marines don't leave their own behind. You hear me, Salim?
If I don't make it out, tell my son I did everything I could.
Tell him yourself. I'm coming to get you.
Jason goes to his rescue, risking his own life. He helps Salim, and they use the elevator to go back up to the surface.
say just throw that thing at me.
I did.
Oh man, that was unfucking believable. Those things were all over us, but me and Salim busted through them like it was the last down of the goddamn Super Bowl. Listen up. We're not out of the woods yet. What I see in front of me, you're the best. F that. The best of the best. We will get home. Hoorah!
Hoorah!
After a narrow escape from an infected Clarice, the troop alongside Salim go to a sunny surface, who celebrating happiness for their survival. But the soon diminishes as a solar eclipse occurs, allowing the infected aliens to surface, just how they destroyed the armies of Gutians and Akkadians thousands of years ago. The group takes cover in nearby houses and barricades them until the eclipse is over. They put up a fight and soon the sun is back in the sky, with the vampires running away. Soon air support arrives and extracts the group with a final relief that they will be safe. Yet again, this is far from over, as they become subject to interrogation by hazmat suit wearing personnels. Despite the group cries, they keep interrogating them about what they know and what they saw, accusing them of mutiny, siding with an Iraqi soldier. For all they know, they sided with an enemy. As a final discussion between two personnels who go room to room to monitor the subjects and the interrogators, who seem to be the head of the operation, they mention that this discovery will be highly classified, and whatever they're trying to do with the survivors is to psychologically prep them and even possibly manipulate them that whatever they saw was not real, to make them even possibly believe that whatever they saw was hallucination. This would only lead to severe cases of PTSD, especially when no one would believe them, for them to get some sort of closure. The fate of Salim is even more uncertain and grim, with him being restricted to see his son and possibly even disappearing soon after. For all anyone would know, Salim could have died in a battle.
I am not answering any more questions until I see my son!
That's not how we do things around here.
You don't have a clue. Jason came back for me. What does that tell you? Down there, this damn war of yours was over!
I'd like to talk more about the entities.
The vampires.
I'm finding it very hard to believe that you killed those things with that.
Untie me, and I'll show you how I did it.
They still on for next Sunday?
Janet's making hot pie. You bet your ass we're on.
I'll never get used to this job.
Why would you want to?
At least this one was localized.
Small blessings.
So, what do you make of it all?
Doesn't matter what I think. Only thing that matters is controlling the flow of information. As far as the world knows, not a damn thing happened here.
If you enjoyed this video, stay tuned for a subsequent video going over all of the endings. You can also hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay tuned for the latest videos. It's been your host Dar, and as always, have a fantastic day.